Alright, it's time for Depth Diary 73. It's Čapek, based on Karel Čapek, the man behind the word robot. Lived in the early 20th century in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and from my point of view, is probably one of the better sci-fi writers from the, well, what is now the Czech Republic. Anyway, it's 1.8, 1.7. However, Bradbury has been put out to pasture, as it was not considered to be a success just yet in terms of its technology and multiplayer enhancements. Therefore, it has been rolled back to version 1.6.2 instead of 1.7.2. And that also means that we are now working on 1.8 Čapek. So, exciting times there, to say the least. So today we're going to be talking about improvements when it comes to habitability and terraforming, which are coming up in 1.8. Of course, the contingency, the thing that we talked about last time, will also be in 1.8, and that's probably where the word Čapek comes from in this particular case. So when it comes to habitability changes, the last time habitability was touched was back in Heinlein. I believe it's 1.4 or 1.3, I'm not entirely sure. We had the changes of frequency when it comes to planetary spawning. Now that was reduced by about 50% back at that point in time. Basically, less planets available, and sadly enough, there were not many additional influence pools added either. Although when Banks came out, we had the addition of the factions being added, which potentially can generate a lot more influence, which allows you to build those frontier outposts, which made things a lot more interesting. However, it looks like we're going to be seeing another change when it comes to habitability. So right now, the minimum amount of habitability bonus that a pop can have is 40% for when it comes to a planet. This is going to be lowered to 20%. What does this mean? Well, it means that every single planet in the game, probably aside from the Tomb Worlds and maybe some others, will be pretty much instantly habitable to almost every single species that you can come up with. Of course, you have a species that has less habitability in general, then you're going to run into some problems. But the pops will be able to live on planets with a 20% modification for habitability. This is going to be really interesting, especially if you're playing Hive Mind. So those people that bought Utopia, good luck for you guys. The thing is that rather than acting as a cap on happiness, it now acts as a modifier. So when it comes to growth, for every single 10 points of habitability below 100%, such as 90, 80, etc., there will be a modifier against happiness added by 2.5%. So at a base of 20% habitability, so that it would be times 8. 2.5 times 8 is, well, like, probably something around 20%, probably not, but we'll see. We'll get a minus 20% happiness modifier added to every single pop on that planet, which means more unrest, less production, etc. So whether or not you want to populate those planets early on is a good question. However, until you have the ability to properly develop a planet where to offset these happiness modifiers is going to be important before you obviously get to that point. So yeah, that is pretty exciting stuff. Then there is changes to planetary deposits. Now at first glance, you're just like, oh, this is not a particularly big deal. Turns out it actually is. Well, planetary deposits, normally in the game, your planets can have energy, minerals, any type of science, food, etc. We're going to be seeing changes in that regard. Different types of planets, the climate groups in particular, these are the wet, frozen, dry, and Gaia. Gaia, of course, is its own territory, its own category. Will have specific focus on particular types of research deposits. So wet climate, continental, oceanic, and tropical will have more chance of generating food or society research. Makes it perfect for those hive minds. Frozen climates, Arctic, tundra, alpine, generating minerals and engineering research deposits. Also pretty good, to say the least, when it comes to generating large fleets, any sort of construction, engineering, of course, important for those kinetic weapons. Dry climate, desert, arid, savanna will be able to generate energy and physics research deposits deposits. Now, energy in general is actually rather important to the towards the game, and physics for those energy weapons and everything related to that. Gaia planets will be able to generate a mixed deposit, so all of the above, plus a bigger chance of spawning strategic resources even. So we're thinking about things like Betharian stone, alien pets, and that's the only strategic resources that are planetary as of right now. So we'll see whether or not we're going to be seeing more of those in the future. Now, this does not mean that you will only find these particular resources in these particular climates. They will just be more inclined to spawn on these climates. So you still will be able to find minerals on dry planets or wet planets for that matter. It's just they'll be more abundant on frozen planets, which in combination with the new habitability modifiers makes it more interesting to take that risk to go and colonize those worlds, even though the happiness modifier is not going to be great. You still need to go and do it because the resources are there for you to use. Then there's changes in terraforming. Looks like we're going to be seeing something called significant planetary modifiers. There's already one of them in the game called the terraforming candidate. If you've ever played with the Sol starting system, Mars is a terraforming candidate. Will now pop up in the habitable planets list on the expansion planner, and there's now also a mod flag for that in the game. So we're going to be seeing most likely more significant planetary modifiers in the game from this moment onwards. And basically they're there to make your planets more unique. Just because you have continental planet A and continental planet B doesn't mean that they should be unique from each other, having certain modifiers. Now right now we've got such things like aphrodisiac or hallucinogenics that are in the atmosphere or other things. So I'm looking forward to things like Kessler syndrome or massive fungal growth or something along those lines. This is not the time to talk about your mom's foot, but don't worry about that. Regardless, terraforming candidates, currently the only significant planetary modifier, but we'll see whether or not we're going to be seeing more of those. Yeah, according to the devs, they expect to make more use of this function in the future. Finally, the terraforming menu for the third time has been overhauled. Initially, we had the terraforming wheel, which was a pretty bad way of doing it, and now it's just you can terraform anything into anything as fast as you want, and you don't need particular resources to do it. You only need energy, and the fluids and gases will only decrease the cost of that. But yeah, new menu for terraforming, pretty nice actually. Being able to click pretty much instantly to what you want is kind of nice. So more visual aspects there, and I'm pretty sure this has something to do with the guy that they hired that designed Civilization 4 and 5. So maybe a little bit of influence from that. This was Death Diary 73. The Čapek update 1.8 is coming our way next week. Apparently, we're going to be talking about significant changes in the area of genetic modification. Now, genetic modification, of course, already heavily addressed in the genetic modification ascendancy perk that came out with Utopia. Whether or not that we're going to be seeing different changes in that, it is by far the best one in my opinion. We will have to see. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and like and subscribe. Just like button is there as well.